Right, welcome back. We are in conversation talking to the Hawks at the moment, and we've got the spokesperson for the Hawks in studio with us. Thanks again. Thanks so much for being with us here on the program. We were hoping to have the acting head, Lieutenant General Yisa Matakane, but unfortunately she's not feeling so good this morning, so we've unfortunately have to delay that interview to another day. But we can get updates from you, and we want to find out where you are with this case, because we saw that, a while ago, Sean Abrahams had brought about an investigating unit to look into the state of capture report. How far is it? When can we start seeing and hearing results? Because last week, the MPA said that an announcement would be made this week, and yet this week's nearly ended and there's nothing yet. Well,
I think let's take it from a holistic point of view. We work with three components. You've got your commercial, your anti-corruption, your organized crime. We're sitting with plus minus 4,900 dockets already that are being investigated. Of course, the bulk of it are sitting with organized crime. We're talking about 2,700. When we're looking at these issues, more especially your state of capture and corruption fraud issues, where they are more on our commercial and anti-corruption units. We're looking at about 200 cases that have already been opened. So, of course, we're looking at a huge amount of investigation that needs to be done. But for me to be able to come out, into the public and tell you how far we are, I think I'll be doing a disservice to the service as well, in the sense that those investigations remain private. There are people that have been accused, and at the same time, it would be wrong for me to trample on people's human rights. But the fact of the matter is that those investigations are receiving serious, and when I say serious, I'm saying serious attention.
Yeah, I mean, we saw I think it was the public protector was giving a discussion at the Wits School of Governance, and she was talking about, if you look at what happened with the Panama Papers, most countries had institutions forcing people to respond immediately. We've had these Gupta leaks for so long now. I mean, these date back to, there were even allegations that, well, not allegations, but the case was already opened, and that was over 10 years ago, and yet that was left and nothing was prosecuted from that. So it just seems that the evidence is mounting, the corporates involved. I mean, there's lists of corporates involved from, we've got KPMG, SAP, AG, McKinsey, you name it. I mean, the evidence is there. Why is it taking so long?
Look, I think we need to also commend the acting national head that immediately when this thing started, she instituted an inquiry. And that inquiry then would have to make sure that we look into the authenticity of these allegations that are being made. It has now blown into a full-blown investigation. There is now a docket that has been opened. And I think you would know, Leanne, that there are also, your NGOs and other interested parties that are also pushing in terms of making sure that we investigate these cases. But at the same time, we are interacting with those so that we can be able to get whatever information they can be able to assist us in terms of furthering these investigations. But this, Leanne, I also need to make clear to the public that it also forms part and parcel of your so-called state capture investigations, because most of the information we have already gathered, and as such is also is being investigated. But to say that we should rush and make mistakes, then we will be able to be accounting back to the same public to say, but how then did you fail, because you had all this information in your disposal. So it's better for us to be given that space so that we can be able to do proper investigations. We have credible investigators, credible prosecutors that are working with us, and I think it's about time that we also give them that support so that they can be able to deal with these cases, complicated cases, like I said before.
I think a lot of people are also sort of worried that these Gupta emails that are coming out and shedding some light could also be giving the public a little bit too much information, which is also to the detriment of the Hawks investigation. It's not necessarily to the detriment, but it should be sped up, and perhaps the public know more and expect more from you.
Look, they have. I mean, we're getting a lot of inquiries, not only from you guys, but other media as well, both locally and internationally, wanting to find out exactly what is happening. And we understand that there is that, push for for us to be able to deal with these cases as fast as we can. But people need to understand that, you know, in this kind of investigations, there's no way that we can be able to put pressure on our members to do what.
Have you spoken to the Guptas?
Well, I can't say. I'm not an investigator, but I know for a fact that there's a lot of people that they have spoken to. There's a lot of statements that have also been taken. So it's just a matter of time where we'll be able to know how far we are in terms of this investigation. But for sure, with time, I'm quite sure we'll be able to make an announcement. And I think, let me just add again, Leanne, we had an interaction with the Minister of Police, Mr. Fikile Balula, where we were able to give him, you know, a scope of what is happening within the DPCI holistically. Including these high-profile cases or cases of interest. I'm quite sure that maybe within a short space of time, he will also be making an announcement, you know, just to give the public a heads up as to what is happening within this environment. So let's wait for it. But at the same time, from ourselves, I think we'll also try and see how best we can be able to jack up, you know, our communication in terms of these cases. We'll have to have an interaction, of course, with the acting national head to see how best we can be able to give information to the public. But of course, it's going to be very difficult for us to be able to give everything. But at least if we can be able to highlight how far we are with these investigations.
Yeah. What about Sean Abrams? Because many people wanting to hear from him, and yet he seems to be so quiet, and so many allegations that he is exceptionally captured.
Well, I don't know where this allegation is coming from. We haven't made any announcements from the Hawks, because there is that perception that there is a war between us and the MPA. That's not true. We work together. Our job is to investigate, their job is to prosecute, and I think those allegations are very far-fetched in terms of how people want to perceive how we're working in terms with the MPA. So I don't work for the MPA, but I know for a fact that there's a lot of meetings that they hold between the MPA, between the National Director of Public Prosecutions and the acting head, and I haven't had anything to say there's something untoward, you know, between them. So it's just a perception, and I think they're doing a great job, and he's a good leader, as far as I know, because I have interacted with him. Yes.
Let's also talk about some of the state institutions. We've got investigations into ESCOM, Transnet, PRASA, you name it, all still pending. How are we doing there? Perhaps we can get an update on that.
We're doing well. We're doing very well. We're also working with some audit companies that are also assisting us in terms of making sure that we get all the information that is there. We're talking about PRASA, we're talking about SAA, we're talking about SAAT. So there's a lot of these state-owned enterprises that we are looking at. In fact, if I can think, we are looking at about 14 cases out of these SOEs, as well as about 13 private companies that are also we're investigating.
Surely there are timelines, because every answer so far that you've given me has said we're doing very well with the investigations, which you believe you're doing very well.
Yes.
We as the public, however, don't think you're doing very well, because we need results and we need timelines on all of this. How long? Just give us a target.
Well, I don't want to put myself, in a chopping block, but
you're on the chopping block already.
I understand what you're saying. I think it's also important, to get the public confidence in terms of what we are doing. But I don't want to make pronouncements where at the end of the day you'll be calling me again, say, but I want you said before the end of December or next year and all those kind of things. I think let's just give this investigation. We'll make pronouncements, and I think that if you have an opportunity for the acting national head, she will be able to not articulate that. But from my own point of view, I really don't want to get into that space now.
Well, we'll invite her once again. Hopefully she will come in this time and we can have a conversation with her.
Definitely,
because we are getting lots of promises. Last week we had promises from the MPA which were not seen through. This week you don't want to put your neck on the block, so we're not getting a promise from you.
Yes.
But let's just hope. That's all the public can do at this point in time. We need answers to these massive investigations that are with you right now.
I think it's very critical, yes.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. So we had the spokesperson for the Hawks speaking to us here on Morning Live about some of the investigations, bringing us up to speed. Mngwani Malawadzi, thank you very much for talking to us. All right, it is 7 o'clock on the dot. The news with Paleso.